There you go, man. I need that hat.
Want my autograph?
Hell no.
You know my name. Come on.
I ain't going that far.
Yeah, you said you would do a selfie. There he goes. Yeah. I'm proud of you now.
Oh, wow. Even CNN just slammed Kamala Harris. They just admitted that she didn't win this debate. Check it out.
Vice President Harris began the debate by punting the first question on the economy.
Do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America.
No, she doesn't.
It went on from there. Despite the economy being the number one issue facing the country, the sitting vice president generally reverted to talking points about a few of her policy proposals. Even Harris allies today are saying that she needs to talk more about what she will do for Americans if elected. Senator Bernie Sanders will be here in a second to talk about more about the need for her to fill in some of those blanks. On the border, another vulnerable issue for Harris, she also dodged.
Would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings.
Okay, that wasn't the question. When asked how she would break through the Israel-Hamas war stalemate, Harris said this.
We need a ceasefire deal, and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that.
Okay, but again, how?
But here's a fact. He did get pushback from them. They did try to fact check him in real time, but there were numerous questions that she would not answer. And she did tell several lies and got no fact checking. So I think if you're going to lay down a marker that we're going to push back on these candidates, you got to do it to none or you got to do it to both. They asked her directly in the very first question if she thought they had any responsibility for the economic conditions or that people were better off than they were for. And she completely ignored it. They asked her on immigration. Why did you wait until 6 months before the election to do anything? And she completely ignored it. And so fact-checking and Barb's aside, those are the two most important issues in the election. They asked her, she completely ignored them, and they spent all their time going after Trump and didn't follow up on any of that. I thought it was ridiculous. But here's a fact.
Who were undecided before the debate and then surveyed them afterwards. Here's what the results of the survey were. 6 of those 10 undecideds now say that they're either going for Trump or they're leaning toward him. 3 have decided to go with Harris. 1 continues to be undecided. 5 people said.
Damn. Like I told y'all, that ended in that closing statement. You know, I just wish they didn't throw Trump off his game. You know, because he could have, he had more opportunities to be better in that debate. And he also had an opportunity to flip it on the moderators and say, and just say, hey, is this a 3-verse-1? Are you guys running for president? Why is it a 3-verse-1? Why aren't you fact checking this lady here? Why are you not fact checking her, but you guys are fact checking me? Are you guys running for president? You know, there was times where he could have had, you know, just been better. You know, he did good, but he could have been better. You know, we got a map, some more polls, and this is post debate. I promise y'all we would give y'all a post debate one. And boy, this is gonna get real interesting. But I want to tell you guys, we can't look at all this and that. Some still say Trump is winning huge, Trump landslide, and then some still say tied. And then the ones that even said a tight race, tied, even now say Trump, it has a huger lead. But it has to be too big to rig, you guys. We just seen a rigged up 3-verse-1 debate. And now whistleblowers are coming out speaking that she received the questions and that also that Trump was going to get fact checked and she wasn't going to get fact checked at all. But I'm glad that everybody is calling this out, even on both sides. And it's even to see even the woke media, mainstream media, to even call it a biased debate and a rigged debate. that was eye-opening as well. You know, I didn't think they were gonna do that, but you know, everybody's on the same page, and we all saw the exact same thing. Everybody was screaming at their television, you know, watching that debate. But huge shout out to Election Time. Link will be in the description box down below. They love the channel, and we're gonna continue to bring you guys the best coverage, the best updates. So let's go and jump in. But I'll be honest with you. Don't laugh. I know y'all be laughing, but I don't see how she makes it past 170 in the Electoral College. Not even 200. I don't see how she makes it past 200. I'm sorry. Just being honest. Just using my common sense and seeing everything that has taken place, doing my research, understanding what is going on, how corrupt it is. Millions are struggling and dying. How she can't think for herself. It's just puppets, man. Who's running the country? But hey, Biden got 81 million. It was a cheap fake, a deep fake. Everything's working. As markets crash, as war, no peace. Come on in, it's wide open. Crime through the roof. I just don't see how she makes it past 200, y'all. Still don't know her policies or what she stands on. But her values haven't changed. But people are clapping for these failures and these puppets, these liars. I don't see how she makes it past 200. I'm sorry. Well, let's go and get into it, y'all. Make sure y'all hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new here. We are wishing the best in everybody's life, man. One love to the human race, baby.
Donald Trump crushed Kamala Harris in the first presidential debate. He did what he needed to do. He was strong. He pushed back on Harris's points. It was Kamala Harris, who's been running behind this entire time, that needed to make a mark. She didn't do that, and today we'll be taking a look at the updated 2024 electoral map after the first and possibly only debate between the two major party candidates. We'll start off by filling in the solid states for both candidates. These are states that either Harris or Trump are going to win by 15 percentage points or more. I'm going to start off with the state Republican states. Trump is easily going to win in Utah, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, all of Nebraska except the 2nd District, Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Indiana, South Carolina, Alaska, and the 2nd District of Maine. This gives him 126 electoral votes.
Just off the main three policies, the main three, the big three, I just don't see how anybody agrees with that that Harris Walz ticket on the big three problems we have right now in this country. I don't see how anybody could give them another. I just don't see it. I'm sorry, y'all. On the big main three, the economy and immigration being the two biggest. You know, foreign policy. I mean, I just don't see it. But again, let me stop interrupting. I'm sorry, y'all. I won't interrupt anymore. And we also knew what took place in these previous elections and maps, and it has to be too big to rig this year, y'all. Too big to rig. You know? And we must watch them like hawks. And again, I believe proof of citizenship, ID, 1 week voting, same day voting. I believe in all that too. You know? Fair elections. But if things are done fair this year, y'all, there's going to be history made on this map. Mark my words. There's going to be history made if things are done fair.
While for Kamala Harris, she's going to win in Washington, California, Hawaii, as well as Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Maryland, the District of Columbia, and the 1st District of Maine. She trails with just 109 electoral votes. Moving on now to the likely states, these are going to be noticeably more competitive, although one candidate will still maintain a strong advantage. So we're going to begin with the states that Trump is going to win by 7 to 15 points, beginning in the Midwest with Iowa and Ohio, two states that Trump has completely transformed since he first entered politics 9 years ago. In 2012, Iowa and Ohio were still very competitive. They voted for Obama. 8 years before, in 2004, they both went to George W. Bush. But in 2016, Trump shifted Iowa 15 points to the right and Ohio nearly 12, and he won both of these states by likely margins. In 2020, when people said Joe Biden could win Iowa or Ohio or at least make it more competitive, Trump won these states again by virtually the same margin. In 2022, the Republican governors of both Iowa and Ohio won their re-elections by solid 20-point margins. On the presidential level, these two states are going to be more competitive, but there's no doubt they will go in favor of the former president for a third time in a row. Moving down south to Texas, we have another state that Democrats thought they could win 4 years ago.
My state right there, Lone Star. Everything big over here, baby. But everybody is riding around with no licenses, no insurance, no proof of anything. Everybody has a car. There's traffic everywhere. Not worse in California, but everybody is traffic anytime you go out. I don't know what's going on in Texas, especially Houston. Shout out to my historians. Where y'all at? I love y'all. Yes, indeed. Now, y'all, I see y'all stopping at the Buc-ee's. Y'all stop stopping at that Buc-ee's now. You stop stopping at that Buc-ee's. I know, and y'all, and put that Whataburger down. Put that Whataburger down. We got In-N-Out too now. We got that In-N-Out too now. It's up the street now. Yeah, buddy.
Biden in the end didn't really come close. The polling said Trump was only going to carry the Lone Star State by 1%. He ended up winning by 6 times that margin, and today he's on track to winning it by at least double digits. He might even win it by over 15, but I think
it's going to be over 15. I'm sorry, y'all. I think it's going to be over 15.
Right now, we will place Texas in the likely red column, as no Republican has been able to cross that 15-point threshold since Mitt Romney in 2012. We have another huge prize for the former president, and that comes in the form of Florida, another 30 electoral votes. This is a huge gain for Republicans now that Florida is no longer competitive. For 3 decades, this was the ultimate battleground state. Whoever won Florida almost always ended up winning the election. That didn't happen in 2020, though, when Donald Trump won Florida by a larger margin than he did in 2016. In fact, this was the best performance for any candidate of any party in the Sunshine State in 16 years. And in this election, Trump is probably going to win Florida by more than 7 points. It's going to be the best performance for a major party nominee in a presidential election since 1988. The Sunshine State is going to be the final likely red state on our map. And so with just these states that Trump is going to win by 7 points or more, he is already 51 electoral votes away from securing a second term. Before we continue, only 16% of you guys are at Harris is on track.
Again, things done fair. It's gonna be history made. I kid y'all not, man.
Becoming the first Democrat to not win the state by a solid margin since Michael Dukakis in 1988. We also have a competitive race in New Jersey with the scandals that Senator Bob Menendez has been embroiled in over the past 6 months. Delaware, without Joe Biden on the ballot, is also going to be noticeably more competitive. And finally, we have the state of Illinois. This will put Harris at 181 electoral votes. And so now we're left with the most competitive states in the country, worth a total of 138.
Y'all laugh. I don't see how she makes it past 170. Stop. I'm just being honest now. Just being honest.
8 electoral votes. All of these remaining states will be decided by margins of 7 points or less. And if you compare this map to what we saw in 2020, you would see a significant change from where we were before to where we are now. 4 years ago, states like Minnesota, Colorado, Virginia, New Hampshire, and Maine all would have gone blue already at this point. They all voted for Joe Biden by more than 7 points. But Kamala Harris is not going to perform nearly as well as the incumbent president did in 2020. And so we're now going to fill in the lean states for both candidates. These states will be decided by margins of 2 to 7 points. This is where you can really get these upsets. These states genuinely could go either way, but there is still one candidate that is favored. Beginning with the lean Harris states, we're going to start in Colorado. I have her winning by just under 7 points. I don't really see a pathway to victory for Trump in Colorado, but it is important to note that Joe Biden carried this state by 14 points in the last election. It was so close to being solid blue, but just 4 years prior, Hillary Clinton only won the state by 4.9%. We're probably going to see a margin more similar to that of Clinton's than that of Biden's. And so Kamala Harris will get the 10 electoral votes, but it's going to be a lot more difficult than it was for her predecessor. We also have the state of Maine. It's 2 electoral votes from the at-large tally is going to go in favor of the vice president. The state of Maine still generally does lean left. Even in 2016, when Hillary Clinton did pretty badly here, she still did come out with a victory. I would say Trump has a chance. If Joe Biden stayed in the race, he probably could be favored to win Maine at this point, but with Kamala Harris having replaced him, Democrats are slightly back on top once again. We also have neighboring New Hampshire. The Granite State's 4 electoral votes were even closer in 2016 than Maine. Hillary Clinton
Again, I just don't see it. Again,
only won New Hampshire by 0.37%. It was closer than states like Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. Only Michigan was decided by a smaller margin in 2016 than New Hampshire. In 2024, Trump is probably going to do slightly worse than he did 8 years ago, but he is still probably going to make New Hampshire more competitive than Harris would like it to be. It's going to fall in the lean blue category. We saw Kamala Harris campaigning in New Hampshire last week. That is how nervous she is about this state. And so as of right now, we do have it going to Harris, but it's going to be one to watch, as Trump has proven before he can be very, very competitive here. Coming back down to the southern border, we have New Mexico, a state that Democrats first flipped in 2008. Barack Obama won the state by 15 points. No Democrat has been able to outdo him since, not even himself, in 2012. And so New Mexico is only going to shift more and more back to the GOP as the state's Hispanic population makes up a majority of the electorate, and Hispanics are generally moving to the right, as with basically every single minority group. And so Kamala Harris is on track to win New Mexico, but Democrats are going to slip here in the next few decades. It could go red as soon as the early 2030s. And finally, in the Midwest, we have Minnesota, a state that hasn't gone red since 1972, when George McGovern was the Democratic Party nominee. It was the only state that didn't vote for Ronald Reagan in his 1984 landslide over Walter Mondale. And so today, Minnesota is shifting to the right, just like the other Midwestern states. This entire region is becoming more and more favorable for the GOP. But at this point, Minnesota is slightly more liberal than Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And with Kamala Harris having chosen Tim Walz to be her running mate, that is the only reason why she is the favorite. If Joe Biden had stayed in the race, Trump would probably be the favorite here. He can win in Minnesota. He's proved it before, especially in 2016 when he lost the state by less than 2 points. Nobody thought Minnesota was even going to be remotely competitive, as in 2012, Barack Obama won the state by nearly 8 points. And so today, Minnesota will be lean blue, but only because of Walz. And so we're now left with just the 8 most competitive states in the country, yes, including Virginia, as well as the 2nd District of Nebraska. For Kamala Harris to win, she needs to win 4 states: Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. There really is no other way around it. As for Trump, he only needs to win 3 states: Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia. These 3 eastern states will be enough to get him at 270.
Yeah.
If he doesn't win them, he can also get there with one of the other Rust Belt states, along with some from the Sun Belt. And so I'm going to fill in the lean states for Donald Trump first, beginning in North Carolina. The Tar Heel state has gone red in both of the last 2 elections. Trump defeated Biden here by 1%. In 2016, he defeated Clinton by nearly 4%. Kamala Harris is not going to win a state that Joe Biden couldn't even win in 2020. Biden was a much stronger nominee in 2020, not in 2024. Obviously, in 2024, Biden was the worst person Democrats could have put up there. That's very, very clear. But in 2020, Joe Biden probably was the best nominee for the Democratic Party. And even then, he couldn't win North Carolina. Kamala Harris is not going to do it now. Moving on to two other key Sunbelt states, Arizona and Georgia. They were decided by incredibly thin margins in 2020. Georgia by 0.24%, Arizona by 0.31%. Today, these states favor Trump a lot more than they did last time. Joe Biden, who once again was the best person Democrats could have chosen in 2020, he won these states by basically the smallest margins possible. In 2024, Trump is in a noticeably better position. 4 years ago, every single poll from these states said Joe Biden was going to win. Today, we have basically the exact opposite. Trump is the one that is favored in the polling, which almost always underestimates him. And so that is why Arizona and Georgia are both going to vote for Donald Trump for a second time after he lost it in 2020. They're probably going to go to him by 2 to 4% margins. Moving up to the Midwest in Pennsylvania, this will be the last lean state. The Keystone State is actually where that debate was held, and the good news for Trump is that he performed well. Fracking is a major issue in Pennsylvania, and Kamala Harris didn't have good answers for that. If people fear that Kamala Harris and her possible administration...
Yeah, now she wants a second debate. Because she knows. She wants a second debate now. Yep. And if you look at the polling, a lot of undecided voters are saying Trump won. But again, I believe he could have did better and capitalized more and exposed the moderators for what they were. He could have, they got under his skin and he took the bait. That's what threw him off. Talking about his rallies and all kind of stuff. It's ridiculous, man. But
is going to get rid of fracking, they're really going to steer away from her. And that is why I have Pennsylvania as a lean red state. I have Trump winning by just over 2 points. It could be less than that, but I do see him as the noticeable favorite. In 2016, Trump did win the state. He won it by nearly 1%. Joe Biden won it by a very similar margin in 2020. I have it going back in the Republican column this time around. And so we're now left with 4 states and 1 congressional district, all of which will be decided by less than 2 points. They're all going to be tilt in favor of one candidate or the other. I'm going to fill in the 2nd district of Nebraska first. I have it slightly favored for Harris. I also have her on track to winning Virginia by the tiniest possible margin. Yes, Joe Biden did well here in 2020, but Republicans won the governorship, the lieutenant governorship, and the office of the attorney general in 2021. Just 1 year later, Republicans are seeing a resurgence in Virginia. 2021 was the first time they won any statewide elections in the state since 2010. And so Trump is going to be very competitive here, but at the moment, considering the electoral history of the state, I do have Kamala Harris just slightly ahead. However, in Nevada, this is another state where Democrats should be ahead. They haven't lost this state since 2004. That was coincidentally the last time that Republicans won Virginia too. But Donald Trump is now the favorite in the Silver State, a state he has never won before. He lost it by 2.4% to both Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden in the last 2 elections. But today, he leads in the polling average. He's been ahead throughout the entire year. I have winning by just over 1%. Donald Trump is the slight favorite in Nevada. And finally, Wisconsin and Michigan. Generally, Michigan votes to the left of both Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, while Wisconsin is the most conservative out of the 3. But since Kamala Harris chose Tim Walz to be her running mate for Wisconsin, which neighbors Minnesota, it's probably going to vote to the left of Pennsylvania. However, that's probably not going to be enough for her. I do have Donald Trump winning both of these close states, just like he did in 2016. The Rust Belt tends to vote together, like he saw in 2020 when Joe Biden narrowly flipped these states back. But against Kamala Harris, I do see Trump performing even better than he did against Hillary Clinton 8 years ago. And so after the first presidential debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, Kamala Harris did not do what she needed to get done. Donald Trump is still the overwhelming favorite in the 2024 election. He's on track to win 312 electoral votes to the vice president's 200.
Yeah, we still been saying the same thing. 312, 315, 317, But this is post-debate, y'all. Post-debate. You just can't make this stuff up. But let me know what y'all think. Let me know what y'all think, man. Comment down below. But hey, I love y'all, and we are wishing the best in all you beautiful people's life. 312. It got to be too big to Rick, and I think it's gonna be even way better than that if things are done fair. Just being honest. But I love y'all, and I will catch you beautiful people in the next one. Peace and love, y'all.